Salutations, my fellow Romans. Salutations to all of you. We here at Chicago Reacts believe in telling the history. Now, when I say telling the history, I mean telling the correct history. Now, we've played part 1 and 2 and part 3 and 4, but now we're going to play part 5 in its own solo video, Unbiased History, Rome, the Punic Wars. Now, for too long, I think we have dismissed the Roman perspective, the true perspective, the accurate perspective. And we're going to continue on with this adventure about the glory of Rome and finally dispel these myths of, oh, these barbarians, oh, they were misunderstood, or Rome was being mean, or Rome was committing crimes. This is all slander. How dare it? How dare the world dismiss the glory of Rome? So grab your sword and shield, take a bite out of true Roman bread, because you're a true Roman, drink some Roman wine, and let's charge into battle and deal with these Carthaginians in the Punic War. And since I'm in charge of the 1s and 2s, let's play this video and burn Carthage to the ground. I mean, I'm sorry. Whew. I almost had a shining moment there. Just had, I don't know. I don't know if in a previous life I was there when Carthage was burning, but I mean, for some reason, I'm horribly offended at the word Carthage. Glorious.
Hey plebs, today we'll discuss one of the worst barbarian races ever to plague the earth, a group of merchants who migrated from the Levant many years ago, deceitfully manipulating others to further their greedy interests. You know who I'm talking about. Punics. They were led by a vassallocracy in Carthage, coming to dominate the seas with barbarian mercenaries. Where we left off, Rome had recently liberated Italy from its own barbarians. No one saw—
Hey, there's only one problem with that image. There's only one problem. Sicily is not under Roman rule. Look at that.
Left off, Rome had recently liberated Italy from its own—
Look at that. I demand that my ancestral home be liberated by Rome.
barbarians. No one saw this contrast better than the gods, whom sought to give Rome a proper challenge. It all started in Italy, where a group of Italians went to civilize the local Greeks.
Yes.
Encountering huge resistance, the Italians accepted help from Carthage, a mistake they quickly realized, calling for Rome for help. The Punics were led by Hannibal and Gisco, whose strategy to blockade Sicily was quickly foiled as the Romans reached the island, scaring the Greeks into submission and laying siege to Agrigentum. The Punics cowardly fled to the sea before the city fell. Lucky for them, the Romans didn't have a navy, knowing well that seafaring was for pussies. But to win the war, the Romans analyzed the shipwrecked Punic ship, using it as an example of how not to build a ship, and then made 120 of their own in under 2
make something better.
months. The fleet was commanded by the consul Scipio, the son of Barbatus, but he didn't last long though, as he went to meet with possible allies near Sicily, being betrayed and imprisoned in an ambush by Gisco. To avenge him, the consul Caius Duilius assumed leadership of the fleet, seeing the implementation of the Corvus, a brilliant shipboarding mechanism that transformed pussy sea conflict into true battles. Duilius went to confront Gisco's fleet at Mylae, avoiding all the ramming attempt, boarding tens of ships and scattering their forces, followed by Duilius getting a—
How dare the Carthage? How dare they? How dare the Carthaginians even try and stand up to Rome? How simply dare they? What an absolute magnificent victory. And nothing bad will happen to the fleet.
triumph, and Gisco getting killed by his men. Following it, the Romans pushed further and further into Sicily. Now having taken the initiative, the two Roman consuls, Vulso and Regulus, built 330 ships to invade Africa. On their way, they met with a Carthaginian ship of 350 ships at Cape Economus, led by Hamilcar Barca. His strategy was to make the center weak and flank strong, making it retreat and lure the Romans away as he flanked their rear. But then the Romans broke through it, and then returned back and crushed the Roman flankers. With this victory, the Romans launched their invasion of Africa.
I mean, oh my goodness, the horror of war. So many innocent lives were lost. The Carthaginians had it coming. Delete, edit that part out. The Carthage. I mean, we here at Americans learn, I think it's important for us to be kind and polite and understand that, this is a horrific conflict. Keep that part in. But those Carthaginians had it coming. They had it coming. All right. Now, let's play the rest of the video.
Freaking out, the Punics hired a Spartan general who possessed ancient Trojan strategies with him, defeating and imprisoning Regulus. Rome then sent a rescue mission for the army, but the gods denied their effort, launching a storm and killing them all. With this, Carthage was able to retake Agrigentum, burning it to the ground to quench their bloodlust. But the Romans refused to give up, building another 220 ships, only for the gods to also destroy it. After many attempts, the Romans tried sieging Lilybaeum again, all while getting harassed by Hannibal, and another fleet was being destroyed in a storm. Fucking hell. But then Hannibal II took power in Carthage, who was so frightened by the Roman perseverance that he demobilized the Punic fleet. With the storms having drained all of the treasury, the patriotic patrician families of Rome donated all their money to build yet another fleet, going on to destroy the Punic fleet at
I saw that comment. Needing money? Yeah.
Families of Rome donated all their money to build yet another fleet.
Still cheaper than me. I mean, that's not funny. It's hilarious.
Going on to destroy the Punic fleet at Agades
Yes.
and winning the war. The peace treaty involved the Roman annexation of Sicily, along with heavy reparations, throwing Carthage into a civil war against its own mercenaries. Rome agreed to help in exchange for
What about Sardinia and Corsica? Yes, we need that. We need that right now. Give those islands to us now. Give them to us now.
Corsica and Sardinia, later on focusing on the northern Gauls who had allied with Carthage in the war. But the gods were very unimpressed with Carthage. After all those storms, they still lost. They saw another chance after Hamilcar won the civil war for Carthage. After he sailed for Hispania, he had one of his sons, Hannibal, swear to one day destroy Roman civilization. At this very moment, the gods buffed all of Hannibal's stats, including his intelligence and his lust for blood. Years later, Hamilcar would be killed by the Iberians, succeeded by his son-in-law, whom signed a treaty with Rome promising not to cross the Ebro River. Then he was killed by a slave, leaving his position to Hannibal, whom would expand their dominions through Iberia. In his waylaid Saguntum, a Greek city under Roman protection. It was beyond the Ebro River, but he attacked it anyway, all while the Romans were busy fighting the Illyrians, starting the second war he so wanted. To start the war, Hannibal assembled 100,000 men, including some Numidian cavalry, marching it through Gaul by either bribing or killing the Gauls who stood in his path. Landing on Massalia to stop him was the consul of the year, Publius Cornelius Scipio, the son of Sina, whom failed to catch Hannibal in time. When blocked by the Alps, Hannibal literally marched through it with his war elephants on Winter, the absolute madman. When he got to the other side, he had lost 3/4 of his army, most of his elephants, and all his siege weapons. Truly a madman. Soon after, he had a skirmish with Publius Scipio, whom almost died, were it not for his soon-to-be relevant son. As they returned to their camps, Scipio met with his co-consul Longus, a reckless pleb, whom Publius advised not to attack Hannibal. He did just...
Man, stupid plebs. Next thing you know, they're going to start asking for more rights. Next thing you know, they're going to ask for more representation, higher wages. I mean, come on. Can't these people just be grateful to be Romans?
Just that, getting flanked and killed by the Numidians at the Trebia River. Meanwhile, Gnaeus Scipio, Publius Scipio's brother, was busy tying up the Punic forces at Hispania, led by Hannibal's brother, Hasdrubal. Back in Italy, Hannibal was almost encircled by the new consuls Flaminius and Geminus, but the madman crossed the swamps to evade them, carving his eye out and marching his army between a cliff and the lake Trasimene, which Flavius, another pleb, despite being advised against it, attacked head-on, getting ambushed and killed. Due to yet another plebeian consul fucking things up, the Romans agreed to elect Fabius Maximus as dictator, the grandson of Rullianus himself. The core of his strategy is known to us today as Fabian tactics, or 4D chess, where one transcends the need to fight any battles at all. Instead,
yeah, I'm not gonna fight you.
Fabian would patiently wait until Hannibal brought his own doom upon himself. Hannibal tried to convert the Italians to join his side, but most of Italy had already been civilized.
Good. Roman civilized, and such a shame many years from now, Corsica would not belong to Italy. Let's just enjoy Rome for what it is right now. I know there'll be some high points and some glory points, but I'm enjoying this series, and I hope all of you are enjoying this series. Type in the comment section below if you want to see more. The answer is you should if you're a true Roman. And I better see I'm a true Roman and I want to see more. You should if you're a true Roman.
save for the north and south, that is, where he found most of his support. However, unable to think four-dimensionally, the plebs elected Minucius as co-dictator, who attacked Hannibal head-on, got absolutely fucked, and returned to Rome, renouncing his co-dictatorship. But the plebs refused to learn their lesson, for just after Fabian's term as dictator ended, they elected Gaius Varro as consul, another warmongering pleb. He raised 16 legions to fight Hannibal head-on. At where, you ask? At Cannae. Just saying this name gets me so depressed. Once they arrived, Paulus, that is Varro's patrician co-consul, advised against attacking, but Varro ignored him, charging at Hannibal. Place your bets, everybody. He started the battle by charging in, pushing the Punic center away, only to be flanked by the Numidians and completely getting slaughtered for the whole day.
I don't want to look at the number.
86,000 Romans died that day, the greatest defeat in Roman history so far. Among the dead being Municius, Geminus, and Paulus. And no, Varro didn't die, instead he fled the battle like a bitch. With Rome's armies and leadership destroyed, the Punic demons spread their chaotic terror through Italy, flipping many treacherous cities to their side, among them Syracuse. To punish them, the Senate sent consul Marcellus to lay siege to Syracuse, a man famous for killing a Gallic chieftain with his bare hands.
Good. Lousy Gauls. The Gauls are going to get what's coming to them soon, too. By the Juliana clan.
At this time, Syracuse was home to Archimedes, a Greek thief who had stolen many Trojan manuscripts, using them to build many weapons. Despite these hurdles, Marcellus eventually breached the city, and when a Roman soldier found Archimedes' home, he accidentally stepped over the circles he was drawing like the autist he was, forcing the soldier to stab him until he shut the fuck up. Can you believe the modern mathematicians actually worship this Greekoid? Now, back to the bad news. Both Scipio brothers...
Archimedes made a terrible mistake by screaming at a Roman.
And
by the way, look, listen, all right? That Roman didn't do anything wrong. Just like when Pauly was dealing with Feach Lamana and Pauly was trying to get back, his turf because what Feach Lamana did to one of his gardener guys. Look, Archimedes came charging at that Roman soldier with a chainsaw. He had a right to defend himself, Tony. And Quasimodo predicted all of this. I'm sorry we had to destroy, all of those good memes. I'm sorry. I've recently been rewatching The Sopranos, where the Romans, you're looking at them, asshole.
Had been killed by Hasdrubal in Iberia.
No!
Remember, we still have Publius Scipio's son. Yeah, he actually managed to survive Cannae, returning to Rome and getting elected as consul for his promise to conquer Iberia for Rome. He headed straight for Cartagena, taking it with just 500 men in a brilliant night attack. Not only that, but proceeding to obliterate Hasdrubal in battle, forcing him to flee to Italy, and then crushing the remaining Punic forces by pulling the same trick Hannibal did in Cannae. Now, back in Italy, the situation was still dire, as both consuls, Marcellus and Crispinus, were ambushed and killed by the Numidian cavalry.
No!
By the arrival of Hasdrubal in the north. To prevent the Punic brothers from joining up, the Romans sent their southern legions to march 300 miles north in just a week, linking with the northern legions and attacking Hasdrubal by surprise, destroying him and all his forces. Yes. Hearing of the victory in Italy, Scipio focused on taking the fight to Africa. But instead of requesting the Senate for allegiance, he sailed to Italy, using nothing but his charisma to gather 30 warships and 7,000 volunteered legionnaires, then simply asking and getting permission from the Senate to invade. When Scipio landed in Africa, he found the Numidians in a civil war, then took the pretender side and helped set fire to the local Punic army camp, scaring their forces out and then slaughtering them all in the field, winning the civil war and making Numidia a Roman ally. Now scared shitless of Scipio, Carthage recalled Hannibal to defend Africa, and thus finally freeing Italy from his reign of terror. It would all be decided in the fields of Zama, as Hannibal and Scipio faced against each other. At the day of the battle, both sides deployed their armies in 3 lines, but instead of the maniple formation, Scipio had them directly aligned, with veletae skirmishes in the gaps. Hannibal started the battle with an elephant charge. They either crashed into his own troops or were easily killed by the Romans.
Yes.
The Numidians took this chance to rout the Punic cavalry, while both armies advanced, with the Hastati clashing with the mercenaries, winning the upper hand until the Punic recruits got to them. The Principes came to the rescue, but the Punic veterans were still intact. To finish the battle, Scipio had his Hastati and Principes form at the center, and the Triadi at the wings. The armies met in a furious brawl, indecisive for either side, until the Numidian cavalry returned, flanking the Punics until Hannibal fled the field.
Run, Hannibal!
Victory.
Lousy Carthaginian!
After so many sacrifices and hundreds of thousands of dead Romans, they had emerged victorious once more. Scipio was gracious in victory, demanding only the annexation of Iberia, the independence of Numidia, some more reparations, and the agreement Carthage would never again conduct foreign policy without Rome's wise counsel. After that, Scipio went to Rome, had a glorious triumph, and gained the epithet Africanus, restoring peace at last. Oh, who am I kidding? Here comes the best part. So after the Second Punic War was won, Rome was embroiled in a series of wars against the Greeks. Spoiler warning, Rome wins and the Greeks are blown the fuck out.
Yep.
Huge surprise.
There you go.
During all this time, Cato the Elder was in the Senate, whom held an indescribable hatred towards Punics. Every single time he talked about anything, he would end it with Carthago delenda est. That is, Carthage must be destroyed.
Whatever, I like him. Isn't this a tax policy session? Carthage must be burnt to the ground. So, hey, listen, buddy, I'm thinking about passing a new way to improve our aqueducts. Oh, yeah, no problem. I too will be more than happy to support your bill. And if I could add one thing at the bottom, Carthage must burn. Okay. Hey, excuse me, Council. Hi. So I'm thinking about expanding and improving our ability to produce more crops. Oh, absolutely. I'll be more than happy to sign that bill. I'm looking at it, reading it. Perfect. I just want to add in one thing. Just one thing in there. Oh, sure. No problem. Carthage must burn. Okay. Hey, listen, it's my child's birthday. I'm having people sign his birthday card. They're sending him well wishes. Here's from most of the Roman senators, but we too, Council, would like your signature on there. No problem. Happy birthday. Carthage must burn. I'm willing to bet 10 out of 10 that actually happened.
Since he was a young senator, since he was a child, hell, since he was an unborn fetus, all he wished for was to have Carthage destroyed.
Yes.
His chance would come 50 years later after the Battle of Zama, when Carthage illegally fielded an army to fight the Numidians over a border dispute. Now utterly convinced by Cato, Rome sent an ultimatum ordering it to destroy their city, move it several miles further inland, and provide 500 children to Rome to see if Punics had any capacity whatsoever to be civilized from a young enough age. They refused those terms and called for war. In response, Rome sent 80,000 men to siege the city, stalled for around 2 years, and then got Scipio Aemilianus, that is Scipio's Africanus son, to lead the siege and finally breach the city. The legions rounded up the 50,000 survivors to serve as slaves, letting the city burn for 17 days, and let's not forget. Feels fucking good. After Carthage's complete destruction, the Romans annexed their now salty lands, as the new masters of the Western Mediterranean, and at the peak of the Republican era. A glorious sight indeed.
Yes, and Dido's curse still remains. We haven't seen the last of that evil witch.
Join me next time when the plebs continue to deteriorate the Republic. Should be in 2 weeks or so. I'll see you then. Ciao ciao.
Glorious. So what have we learned from the great historian Dovahhatty? Well, first of all, number one, we learned that Rome is absolutely glorious. We learned that 2, the Carthaginians are absolutely pathetic. We learned number 3, while the gods did test the Romans, that only true Romans could survive these tests. And Carthage was finally regulated and slapped around. It was given a firm slap right across the face. And anyone who starts complaining like, oh, what about their feelings? Oh, what about Carthage? Too bad. So sad. Too bad. So sad. Too bad. So sad. So there you go. Folks, if you enjoy us checking out this series, this unbiased history of Rome, It is quite hilarious, quite glorious. But if you enjoy it, please type in the comment section below. And the answer is you all better do that. But also support the original content creator. That link is in the description box below. True Romans support the true content creator because it's the right thing to do. We do that for all the videos here for Americans Learn. So otherwise, until then, you beautiful, hip, cool cats, take good care of yourselves and each other. And we'll see you the next time when it's time for us to boot up and suit up and deal with the plebs. Asking for more things, equal rights, liberties, justice. I mean, they're Romans. Just be happy. Enjoy your slice of pizza. Ciao, ciao.